fantastic. This is GT racing right now.
He's got traction, he's got really outside of both of them. Maloney!
Oh, he's taken Anderson. Anderson's up to
Oh my God! Big crash! Oh my goodness, half the field's going to get rolled.
Second very close. These guys are want to make their way through the field very quickly. Oh, here we go.
Oh no!
That's massive. This is it. This is over. I can't believe this. Oh my God.
God, what?
This is the Rampaging Bulls circuit. This is the track of all tracks where if you want to test top speed and get great overtaking, you go to this place. This a place which in the mid-2000s was completely run down. No more racing, and it took quite a bit to get this track back to former glories. Welcome to the Red Bull Ring. This is where incredible racing comes to life. And in the sim racing realm, the iRacing Grand Prix Series brings itself to here, round 5 of the championship. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, race fans around the world. Welcome to SimSpeed TV's coverage here of amazing sim racing that we see week in, week out here with this iRacing Grand Prix Series. I'm Jake Sperry, Jay Kennedy, along with me for the ride for this one. And Jay, we've been talking about it just before we came onto air, how this is such a great track, how this is all about being aggressive and also finding yourself within the limits. This is a beautiful attempt at racing today, and we're going to be seeing it around a track which is 10 turns long, 7 to the right, 3 to the left.
Yeah, it's a track that we said before, one of the most entertaining newer bits of content that iRacing's released. It's been so popular within the community. Provides some really good racing, as you said, and really looking forward to seeing how this race plays out. An iconic track, as you said, it took a little while to get it to return to its former glory. Back when it relaunched as the A1 Ring, and now as the Red Bull Ring, it has just become more and more iconic as its life goes on. We're going to see another great race today, a really strong field of cars out on track.
Absolutely. At the foothill of the Styrian Mountains, this is where you need to be absolutely at your very limit in terms of these sorts of tracks as well. There aren't many tracks that are built as high-speed thrill rides. Most tracks that you see out there that get designed have to have a little bit of everything with them. This is the sort of track that just needs one trick and it does it to perfection out there. So a lot of drivers today will be looking to try and put their best possible times on the board. They know that it's going to be a tall order, 35 laps here today, and they must do a compound swap pit stop somewhere through the racing that they've got going on. So there's always that in the back of the mind to deal with. But Jay, those times are starting to crawl up onto the board, and right now it is Tamash Simon who has himself the fastest time of anybody at the moment, a 102.580. He's 0.3 clear of Andreas Henkel in second, who abandons his second lap. But we're seeing a few differences here and there. A couple drivers going to the Yellow Wall medium compound as they go out there and try and set their representative runs.
Yeah, the compound that everyone starts on, obviously different rules this season, so we're going to see a little bit more mix, but the weather conditions not as hot as we can potentially see at this track, so I think we'll probably see a little bit less strategy in the tyre choice. Most guys will try and go as long as they can on their tyre stints throughout. Only 1, 2, 3 drivers that haven't set times at the moment, so here is one, Filippo Grandi.
Yeah, and Filippo Grandi certainly looking for a good time, part of that MAG Performance team, which has really coalesced over the last couple of seasons to become what it is right now, over the line for a 103.153. That's good enough to go 6th fastest, and they're all together 5th, 6th and 7th here. Stepanov, Grandi and Martinez out there at the moment. So that puts them in a pretty cool position right now. That's Thomas Wieck coming over the line for a 103.8. That's good enough to move 13th fastest. 21 drivers here today, split across 3 different splits out there, and it should be all important. What I can say, though, is that no other drivers are out there on a lap. Laps go incredibly quickly around this place, so we are able then to jump ourselves over towards the starting grid and how everyone is going to line up today at the Red Bull Ring. It will be car number 2 out there on pole position, Tamas Simon, with a 102.580. Every reason to be happy with that time. He has monstered the field in qualifying once again. Andreas Henkel will be alongside him on the front row with Marcel Fassbender. He'll be going from 3rd position overall. And then in 4th, it is Kalen Chin, who has done very well in qualifying. The championship leader, though, is a little bit further afield, starting only P5 here today, but this is a very high strength of field, so it's not necessarily the end of the world as he looks to put himself further forward through this racing, with Filippo Grandi, his teammate, there in 6th position. His other teammate and second in the championship is Jorge Martinez. He'll be going from 7th place out there on the grid with Reynaldo Augusto. Good qualifying from him. He's up in 8th place with Victor Awad then and Fernando Guerrero in 10th position. Tyler DeZube and John Pat Kelly, they will have row 6 of the grid out there on this one, with Thomas Veek and Roly Schilter there in 14th. Anthony Cat and Lukas Orkomski will start from 16th, with Frank Binnendijk and Kent Nielsen a little bit disappointing down the order in 18th. He's along with Kohei Yamashita, Stefan Chantal and Adam Webb, rounding out then the 21-car grid for today. Drivers then lining themselves up, and Jay, the one thing that's always talked about on this start is that you do not have any margin for error. It is very much a funnel into the very, very difficult Niki Lauda curve.
100%. It is a very, very tough turn 1. It does narrow up quite a lot with the way the off-track system works. And just to make things even more interesting, you've just noticed too, I have a disappeared Tamas Simon. He's having some connection issues and has dropped from the race. He may miss the race start from pole.
We did have a look at it, and he was struggling towards the end of qualifying as he was just putting some practice laps in. So that, I think, an issue that was just developing over time, and that's the straw that breaks the camel's back. So everybody +1 would not be the most ideal. It is a real shame that Tamas Simon has dealt with that, because he looked like he was about to pretty much give everybody a lesson today on how to drive this circuit. It will mean that you've got that empty front grid position, and they will wait for the 2 minutes to get up onto the clock. They also have a chance to start from pit lane. I know drivers like Adam Webb are waiting for the last possible moment to grid up so that they can give him a chance to get back in, but I think he's going to be missing by a couple laps or so. I remember Mitchell de Jong having this same issue in a World Championship race once upon a time. John Pat Kelly will start from the pit, but we've got ourselves lights on. Let's get ourselves ready. 35 laps, and we are underway. Pretty even starts then as they go over towards turn number 1. Nice and clean as they all get their getaway, and suddenly pushing Fassbender off wide is Andreas Henkel. He was trying desperately to find the right way through, and he just about manages it. They all just about managed to go through as they descend down the hill towards Ramus. Here comes Kalen Chin, looking to get that run up the hill on the braking zone. Means you can brake a lot later. He goes through, Stepanov behind him, having a bit of a moment as well. Now Filippo Grandi wants an attack.
Relatively clean start. We did see Anthony Cat. He could push a little bit wide and he's dropped a couple of positions, but other than that, everyone else seems to have got through okay. Big move though. Adam Webb already up 9 positions from where he started. He's already up into 12th.
Yeah, that is a monster start by his standards. He flew forward at the front of this race, and he definitely wants to do some more. But as they chase forward now, going through the right that leads now towards the final 2 corners out on circuit, Jochen Rindt on board with Jorge Martinez, and then the Red Bull Mobile corner to end the lap. This fast right-hander is taking it at 220 kilometers an hour, believe it or not. Absolutely rapid as they go through a lap already scored in the books, and this race is going to go so incredibly quickly around this place today, and everyone knows that lap 1 and lap 2 are the most crucial laps here in terms of this race, because lap 3, that's when you get the drag reduction system.
Exactly right, and I'm just seeing too, Anthony Webb, he's got a slowdown penalty from too aggressive through turn, I'm going to say the final corner. He's just taken all the way to the back straight to clear that. So that amazing start that he had, all of that good work that he did on lap 1, he's lost it all on lap 2. He's going to have to do it all over again.
Certainly will. And he also have to clear all of his letters to make sure his name becomes Adam again. Moves through, then through Sloshko corner, and he'll be behind Lukasz Okomski. And that is all that progress wiped out with one very important issue he's had. Here's Rolly Schilter, here the Californian, trying to really attack in the number 19 machine. He's looking behind him. There's Anthony Catt. He's trying to find a way through into Lucky for get away from Lucky for some 13th. And Oliver Stepanov in incredibly early here in this one. No penalty from what we can tell, but that is not planned. Lap 2 making a stop unless he desperately wants to get off the tyres.
Penalty is there, though, for Jorge Martinez, who's now having to clear a slowdown just ahead. Just hit a change of position as well. So Fassbender through on Kalen Chin and run up the hill, just using the DRS. The DRS is now reversed. Actually, both have it because they were close enough at the activation point. That change of position, though, has meant that Andreas Henkel now has an over 2-second advantage.
He absolutely does, and it's over Marcel Fassbender now. And so all of those changes being important. Martinez, by comparison, has just dropped behind Thomas Wieck out there on track. So he's got a lot of work to get back in. And what I found really telling right now here, Jay, is the tyre compound that Stepanov's gone onto. He's gone onto the Whitewall hard compound tyre, which indicates to me he's trying to run this one to the end of the race.
Yeah, exactly right. Trying to go from there all the way to the end. I'm still shocked that he came in as early as he did. I'm not really sure as to the reason why. Now, in potentially good news, Tamas Simona's made it back into the race, but hasn't been able to get himself back out on track yet. So there are still some issues there, side by side once again. Kalen Chin back through.
Absolutely. And so already 3 laps down. It's definitely not the plan. Now, it's definitely not a jump start. That's what we can say with Oliver Stepanov with absolute certainty. It was not a jump start, which would be one of the reasons why he'd jump in. But Chin getting back up into second position.
No.
And big wreck. And in losing the rear wing. That is that Martinez there who's got out? Is that Filippo Grandi? Yeah. It is Martinez. So a huge accident running down into Sloshgold. It's one of the biggest points from Thomas Wieck. Look at his car, absolutely demolished.
Yep, and also involved was Anthony Catt as well. So there's been a 3-car pile-up with these 3. So Wieck, Catt, and Martinez. And I think you've just seen it, Jacob. We're all about to.
We absolutely are. This is what happens when you're pushing. Thomas Wieck says, "Why did you turn into me?" And there's the hit. And look at it. It's a massive accident. Anthony Catt's a bystander in it. It's a huge, huge moment. And really, for all of those drivers involved, the last thing that they wanted was to deal with this. This is Catt's view of it. You can see they're getting close. They're getting chippy. And you can see Wieck does come across a little bit there. So I don't know what his position is in terms of that incident, but at Schlossgoal corner, Anthony Catt just straight up into the barriers, and that a very, very awkward incident.
100%. It's incredibly awkward. Now, just on Ollie Stepanov, his pit stop time quite long, so I'm saying that's a front wing change. So he's come in early, get a new front wing, and that's why he's gone into the hard tyre to get it home to the end to try and negate that extra time loss from that early pit stop.
Yeah, that definitely won't be ideal for him in terms of his race, so definitely on time loss, and this is damage limitation on what is an incredibly strong strength of field out there today. So keep eyes on it at this point in time. We've got some great racing. Henkel, your leader at the moment, 1.5 seconds up to 1.7 over Kalen Chin now. Key, though, is that we've got a great fight going on for position number 5, I should say. You've got Awad, you've got Augusto, you've got Guerrero, and you've got Dzube. They are all there chasing this group. You can see them in the back of shot right now as they go through. This is an important phase of the race because they want to make sure they are using their tyres to the best of their ability. Almost everybody starts on the medium. Awad's gone around.
And avoids contact from anyone else. He's going to get out of the way unscathed. That was a self-spin as well, but that could have been so much worse. He's avoided everyone else in the spin. The only thing it's done is has broken up that group.
And we talk about this stage, Sloshgoal corner, why it's so difficult to deal with, because it is a very, very long corner. You've got that initial turning down the hill, and then when you try and put the power down, you're still going to be turning for 3-4 seconds after that. It's so easy in these Mercedes AMG W12E performances to just light the rears, go around with how much torque that goes into the rear tyres.
Incredible how much torque there is in these, when you consider the cars now nowhere near as loud, so a lot of people don't think they're anywhere near as powerful as they once were, but they're more powerful now than they've pretty much ever been. The torque, the acceleration is incredible in these cars, so the amount of pressure on those rear tyres is absolutely incredible. We've got some guys here that we don't often see in the series that are driving really, really well and in some great battles at the moment.
Yeah, Komsky versus Binnendijk here on screen. That's Frank Binnendijk just behind in 14th place, looking to move up towards 13th, but this is where you get the swings and roundabouts in a race like this. These two left-handers are turbulent central as you go through Rauk and Firth corner, moving through that right. This is a very tough section of the track, and then as you crest the rise, descend down the hill, this is truly what a roller coaster feels like in terms of a racetrack.
100%. It's an incredible track and really does suit these cars as the rear wing opens. Interesting that Binnendijk hasn't opened the rear wing. He would have been close enough to get DRS, I would think. I mean, he's within half a second, but opting not to use it, that's something very unusual. You don't often see drivers not choose to use the DRS when they've got it available. I'm a little surprised by that.
Well, some drivers will be
looking.
I do have a reason for that, and that would be that you don't want to catch on the front straight. You want to catch at a better place in time on the circuit, so you give yourself the gap so you do not cost yourself through the corner to set up for that move. That's why you wouldn't use DRS potentially on one of the straights. Here's the look then with Reynaldo Augusto just behind him, Fernando Guerrero. It has been a while since we've seen Fernando Guerrero out there racing. Was the sort of driver who was on the cusps in 2016, 2017, qualifying for the iRacing World Championship Grand Prix Series. Didn't quite manage it, but as a sort of driver who could go out there, come back into a series like this and give a good challenge. Reminds me of about a couple seasons ago of Kazuki Umeshima doing something very similar.
Yeah, exactly right. It's great to see him back out there, and also good to see Reynaldo Augusto up in the top 5. It's been a little while since he's had some good luck go his way as well. He's one of those drivers that seems to find himself in trouble, not necessarily through any fault of his own. So it's good to see him up there, and good to see him in a very, very good battle. They got Tyler DeZube just behind as well. So this is the battle for the top 5.
It absolutely is, and DeZube's just been very, very quiet there, up 4 spots in this race so far, and will be looking to try and gain a few more. They've pulled out a good gap to the car behind Kent Nielsen, who's up 10 spots into 8th place. They've got 3 seconds on him, so they've definitely got a lot in this race that they can work with, and they can be aggressive if they want to, but the drivers are going to know that the pit stop window will be opening pretty soon. You would feel that drivers who have started out on the medium compound tyre, they're going to be wanting to try and go maybe to about lap 20 to 23 to try and make sure they've got enough for the soft. Otherwise, they might be thinking, okay, if that doesn't work, we might have to go to the hard compound like Stepanov is. I doubt we'll see much of that. Stepanov currently in 16th position at this moment in time, and he knows he is a long way away, but he is lapping faster than the leader. 105.7 that last time by was 0.2 quicker on a harder compound.
Yeah, in the lap before he was 0.4 quicker, so he's actually the fastest car out on track on the hardest compound tyre. So he's not worried about tyre life or anything like that, as Adam Webb gets up the inside of Sheetler, and move should be finished. A little bit longer as Webb makes his way back to pretty much where he was earlier.
Yeah, that was good work from Adam Webb to get back, and Roly Shilter doing enough then to just lose out on that place, but he'll definitely want to try and get that back, and he'll know that a hard-charging Adam Webb might not be the easiest character to try and get back past again. This is also a very, very tough track here, Jay, because of off-track incidents. Drivers are pushing to the absolute limits around this place, and they know that they can very easily step off at a couple places on this track, be a little bit too aggressive, because effectively, this was one of the first tracks out there which effectively enforced iRacing's new elements of how they are going to police off-tracks in the future.
Yeah, when it was released, it was with areas of 4 wheels off track, and it's been relatively well received. I mean, there's some areas where some people question. We were talking about it earlier before the race started, that the off tracks can be a little difficult, but for the most part, it's been very, very well received. Just wanting to look here at Kalen Chin, he is closing rather quickly on our race leader. He's got it now under a second.
Absolutely has. And Kalen Chin, of course, car number 3, races out of Club Asia and is definitely looking to try and challenge his way forward. Now, this is going to be about what can you do in this scenario, because it's not just the fact that he's closing that gap down to a second, is that he's closing that gap down to a second and he's dragging Marcel Fassbender along with him for the ride. So that is certainly putting him in a position where he wants to try and make something happen out there in the race. He wants to go out and get as many places as he can, but he also knows that just behind, Guerrero has just made the move, moved up into what is 4th position now out here on track. So up to 4th, getting a great pass sorted with Augusto, with Tyler DeZube just behind him as well. Guerrero absolutely motoring at this moment in time, but being bottled up behind has cost him about 8 seconds to the leaders.
Yeah, and the reason that is 4th and not 5th as that battle was before is we've had Felipe Grandi have a huge tech issue, almost dropped from the server. He's actually come back, but with his disappearance from the server, it's actually put him a lap down. So he is now 1 lap down and in 17th position.
Well, issues all over the place today, which will be really surprising. Driver diving in then. First driver diving into the pits that we've seen, apart from Stepanov. It's Kohei Yamashita in then to the pits. He'll get 4 sets of tyres, moves on to a brand new set of yellow-walled mediums, and he'll be back out and away again. He was the only runner out there on the soft, which is rather surprising, and it didn't really do much for him. But I think the key today is going to be survival, as Binnendijk has actually made his way through on a Komsky.
Yeah, just got that done up at turn 3 at the hairpin. And now it looks like he's actually going to start breaking away. He's not leaving any room for Komsky to close back up and continue to close that gap. So he's right there in regards to pace, and Komsky's not able to match it. Speaking of pace, let's go back to the front, because have a look at this. DRS is now well and truly in for Kalen Chin.
It absolutely is, and he's right up underneath, looking for an angle to go through to make the move that he wants to, and he's certainly in a line trying to make it happen. Can't get there on the brakes, has to wait. I do need to report as well that Jorge Martinez is out of the race. He had a tank slapper through the penultimate corner, found the barriers. His race is done out there overall, but the lead battle, Henkel versus Chin, this helps one driver very heavily in terms of this race, and he has the number 1 on his car, and he's all the way down in 14th position right now.
100%. He's still the fastest car out on track, except for Kalen Chin and Marcel Fassbender. So 3rd fastest car on track is Ollie Stepanov, and Ollie Stepanov won't mind not being the fastest as long as he's faster than that 1st place car. He's gaining ground on the field. So Stepanov is finding himself in a very, very good position. Clear track, fast car. He's in great position. And if these guys continue to fight at the front, it only helps him even more. Here's the move.
Oh no! Oh, he's made contact. Henkel gets turned. Chin was trying to look down the inside, and in the background it's Grandi who runs into the back there. So huge issues there for Andreas Henkel, and you have to say, at that sort of corner, he's all over the curb. It's so inviting for a move like that.
Now, I don't know if the move was necessarily on, but definitely went for it. And as you say, it's very, very inviting. Very, very late look. Slight contact, not much in it, wheel to wheel, and that secondary little hit there is the tech issues we were talking about with Grandi earlier.
Oh, broke his car.
Yeah, Grandi's now looks like he'll be out of the race. He's got a meatball flag from that hit. That's what happens when you've got a few connection issues. Does affect your race in all sorts of ways.
Chin redressing.
Yes, he is. And I think that's a very, very good sporting move, because in the real world, there would be a penalty coming in for that one.
Absolutely, and the most Australian thing in the world is the redress system, and used to perfection there by Kalen Chin, as he now falls back behind Andreas Henkel, and it gives Marcel Fassbender effectively a 3-second lead here at the front of this field. More drivers coming into the pits then. That's John Pat Kelly in the SRT Esports car. He's looking to come in. But the one thing I do want to say is what a torrid day it has been for Mag Performance. Stepanov having to pit on lap 2, and then both the other cars out of the race.
Yeah, they've had a shocking race, and also what an up and down day it's been for this man, Adam Webb. Wait till you see this one, because this has been a very, very disappointing end of the day.
Oh,
Split that curb, got the wheel stuck over the top, and the front wheels are not supposed to be on that angle.
they are not, and we saw it a couple of times last season. That accident happened, drivers get thrown into the wall, and you see it again with Adam Webb. It does bite you. It's an anti-cut curb. It's a deterrent for a reason. You just hit it wrong, put the power down too much, it is going to spit you out. And now here comes Kalen Chin. This time, he gets himself through on Andreas Henkel, who does not want to fight. He absolutely doesn't want Kalen Chin up the inside again.
Didn't even think about fighting and trying to hold that position, did he? It's like, well, you're faster, go on through. There could be a strategy thing to that too, knowing that Chin is a little bit faster. They can work together in an intelligent way. They might be able to close that gap back down because, of course, while there's 3 cars in this group at the front, it's technically a 4-car battle, isn't it? Because Stepanov is now only 27 seconds back. Last time we looked, it was 30 and a half.
Absolutely, he did a 106 flat, and he's actually coming up on a group of 4 cars, and there's just been a move in that group. That's Stefan Chantal going through against Rolly Schilter. So the French-Canadian getting by the American. You've got Binnendijk there just behind. Komsky is there as well, and Stepanov absolutely has the motor. And remember that Oliver Stepanov is an Austrian. This is his home race.
Yeah, and we've seen before that drivers seem to find an extra, tenth or two of pace when they're having their home races. We've seen it with Thomas Simon at the Hungaroring. We've seen it. Plenty of British drivers do really well at Silverstone. We've seen Kent Nielsen do really well at Montreal. It does seem to have an effect on drivers. Just it's something in the way that they connect to the track, or something with how they've grown up and understand the circuit. Just that extra tiny little bit of pace seems to happen at their home tracks. And again, this week, while Stepanov's way back in the field, his pace shows that he has something more than all the guys around him. Now, just before I go back to you, Jake, Kalen Chin, we said that he was probably going to be quicker than the other guys around. Last lap by 1.2 seconds quicker than Marcel Fassbender.
Absolutely motoring, and that's a 5.5 on that last lap, and he claws the gap down by another 7/10 to 1.3 seconds. And I wonder if the hits from Andreas Henkel certainly haven't helped him, because he can't keep pace at this point, and he's at risk here of being dropped. Keeps in with the DRS so far, but really it's almost like seeing a dog running away and the owner's just behind him there with the lead going, please stop!
Well, I'm wondering if Henkel has some front wing damage, and that's potentially why he's just losing a little bit of ground. Because remember that this front wheel into the side of Henkel, which was around the front wing. So possibly a little bit of damage to that. And of course he was hit from behind as well by Grandi while he was having his technical issues. And as you said, Guerrero's just lost the spot to Fernando Augusto. Ronaldo Augusto.
Yeah, Ronaldo Augusto then doing a good job getting that place back. That was a mistake by Guerrero. Just ran it too deep into Ramos' corner. Had to bound up over the anti-cut curbs there. Fassbender's in the wall. Marcel Fassbender from the race lead finds himself in trouble on the front stretch, spinning out to the final corner.
Can't believe that we've seen him have an issue here. So he was starting to feel a little bit of pressure from behind. And I'm wondering if this is a little bit of mirror watching, just to see if the guys behind are coming into the pits, not concentrating 100% on the race. And we've seen that in lots of cars, but I've never seen that in these cars. You see guys spinning out at that section. Very, very rare in these cars.
Well, he was so aggressive over the inside curb. I'd wonder if he maybe compression damped over that section of the track, had the rear bouncing up and down. Roly Schilter leaving the pits. Renato Augusto also left the pits after his pit stop as well. So Chin leads, Henkel second, and this race gets another leader out there. 4.1 seconds for Renato Augusto. He's back out and away. And going forward, we are right in the window. Lap 20, drivers are thinking about going to the Redwood soft. And that's the one thing that Oliver Stepanov's got to be worried about in terms of his race right now, which is the fact that everyone's going to be on a new soft and he'll be on an old hard tyre.
One thing he has got in his favour, though, is clear track. He's got relatively clear track and has for a while, so he's in a very, very good rhythm. That's Tyler Dezube.
Oh, no, Augusto's in the wall. Renato Augusto is in the wall. Coming out then of what was going to be Verth corner, the back just switching on him as he went through, and that was at a most crucial time for that soft tyre.
Strange spot to end up, isn't it? I mean, it's not somewhere you often see a car ending up. That's a really weird incident.
It just looks like he put the power down too early. He was just trying to modulate the throttle a little. And effectively, with the rear, that hit just breaking the rear suspension. There was no way he was going to extricate himself from the gravel. Now it gets a bit interesting here, because you've got John Pat Kelly, you've got Lucas Okomski, you've got Schilter there and Chantal. And I believe two of these drivers have pitted potentially. No, they've all pitted at this point in time, but they are all pretty much line astern, nose to tail, and in comes your leader, Kalen Chin. Henkel will stay out for another lap.
Where is Stepanov in relation to Chin? Chin's away, already out of the pit lane, but it's a very, very long pit exit. Yeah, it's still ahead. Stepanov will probably have a quarter of a lap of an advantage, and then you would expect Chin to break away, but that gap is nowhere near as big as Kalen Chin would have liked. One mistake, and that's game over.
Well, now you'd argue that Kalen Chin's race now is Andreas Henkel and Marcel Fassbender. I wonder whether there's still a chance for a podium for Stepanov here today after all of that he was going through. And it is one of the shorter pit lanes out there, but it also is one of the most difficult pit exits out there and one of the fastest pit entries they will go through. Here comes a little look then as we take a little zoom back on all these drivers diving in the pits.
Yeah, so watch where that comes out in relation to that pack we were watching. Comes out right in the middle of the group, and it causes a huge bottleneck within this pack.
You can see here, moving through the Niki Lauda curve, turn number 1, and you can see he just brings himself out, and he actually just jumps on the wrong side of it. He tries to go through. That's on the back there, John Pat Kelly, who goes side by side and has to use the DRS, and that's key coming off of the exit there of turn 1. It's very much like rejoining a super speedway. You need to get back up to speed again quickly.
Henkel has come in and has returned to the track around about 2 seconds behind Kalen Chin, and there is Stepanov.
And that was a mistake there from Henkel, just going a little bit too deep into the corner, had to really fight to get the car back, and suddenly that gap extends out now and is a lot larger than it was. Marcel Fassbender has stayed out an incredibly long time by comparison. Leading laps, still needs to make a stop. That medium tyre, and now he goes for it. And also, you have to be so careful coming into the pits, because if you step any margin over that white line and try and cut a little bit out of the track by being greedy through turn number 9, then effectively you could easily lose the race by a pit lane penalty.
Exactly right. It is a very, very tough pit entry. Not only the blend line as well, where you can come in, it also is a very, very aggressive corner, so you can find yourself drifting a little bit wide, touching the grass and finding yourself in the wall. Same thing with the pit exit as well. Fassbender comes out just behind Stepanov, around about 3 seconds behind. Makes you wonder what might have been if you didn't have that spin through the final corner a few laps ago.
Chase is still on in my book here, and you'd have to wonder if Fassbender can get up to speed on that soft. He's got a chance to go through. These next laps are going to be really crucial in comparison to Stepanov, because you feel that Stepanov's tyres, they're going to be is pretty much like driving on 4 bricks. They're going to be staying on for a long time. There's a Komski in a big battle. He gets through Roly Schilter, and that is a pass then for 9th position in this race. Unbelievably, every time I've seen Rolly Shilter, he's been overtaken, and yet somehow he's still up 4 spots.
A lot of these guys in this group have all gained positions. John Pat Kelly, remember, he started in the pits. He's got himself back into 11th. Pomsky up 7. Binnendijk up 5. Behind them, Yamashita's up, what's that, 6 positions. The only driver that's lost positions is Fassbender, really, in the entire front of the field.
Oh, he's lost a lot. He's had a moment.
Had another moment, yeah.
Oh, it's the same place as Augusto had it. It's exactly the same issue. Rear just switching, going through. Winds from the southwest at 16 kilometers an hour, so it's not much. It's what we'd call medium wind here today, but you can see just as he tries to put it on, oh, car snaps.
The time is changing direction, trying to put the power down at the exact same time. Kent Nielsen is through, and we were talking about his potential for maybe to gain another spot and get up to Stepanov. Well, he's lost 2, and he's now got to work very, very hard to get up to Kent Nielsen. We go back to this battle pack between Binnendijk and John Pat Kelly. They've had another change of position as Fernando Guerrero from the front of the field comes in. Everyone has bidden.
At last, Fernando Guerrero going 25 laps on his set of medium tyres. He will go up on the jacks, go down on the jacks, and he will get back and away on a set of the Red Wall soft compound tyres, looking to get back out and away again. Here is one Mr. Stefan Chantal, the fight for 8th position out there at the moment. Lukasz Szykomski trying to find a way through and trying to find that all-important pass. The Polish driver is certainly searching for it, moving through the Niki Lauda curve. He knows every single time he goes through those 3 straights, he has a great chance with the DRS to close that gap down.
Good battle this has been the whole way through. These guys, there's pretty much been 6 drivers involved in this battle group throughout, and of course we had Marquez in this group at one point as well. It's been a really, really good battle for the most part, other than that one incident between Marquez, Wick and Cat. This has been a really clean group of cars, but unfortunately that one incident has changed the complexion of 3 drivers' races and split this group up a tiny little bit. They all came back together once again and are putting on a really good show.
They absolutely are, but ultimately it's Chantal who is just starting to break away, and this just becomes a little bit more elongated here with 9 laps to go around the Red Bull Ring. Such an incredible race, and here's something I was just looking at now. Tamas Shimon is thinking about coming out on track. He is stopped at the end of the pits, thinking whether he should gain a couple places to try and save his iRating and safety rating.
If he comes out and does 10 laps, there's only 9 laps to go. I was going to say he'll gain a spot, but he's not going to be able to gain a spot. But as you said, a good chance to gain some safety rating, get out there and maybe just do some practice laps to get a feel for the car for next week. That right there is Kent Nielsen and Marcel Fassbender. They changed positions twice on this lap. Fassbender through at the hairpin, Nielsen back through.
Curiosity nearly killing the cat as Marcel Fassbender having a look up the inside there into Rauch corner. Very nearly put himself in a world of trouble there with Kent Nielsen, who has had an incredible drive. Joint highest gainer in the field, up 12, along with Stefan Chantal, which means the Canadians are absolutely loving this place at this moment in time. Still on, though. Fassbender's not given this one up.
Might have to move the Red Bull Ring to Canada the way these guys are going. The Canadians, as you said, having a great showing. Fassbender trying to go the long way around. You can almost get it to work, but the grip of the soft tyre for Kent Nielsen, just a little bit too much. Tyre life for these two, almost identical. 2 laps in the favour of Fassbender.
You have to remember, Fassbender, though, will lose those 2 laps by the big slide he had and the trip across the gravel. He would have flat-spotted the tyres as he went through. So now you start to wonder, okay, what can you do here? The German Fassbender trying to find himself a way through back up into 6th position. This is the sort of race which you say, okay, it's half distance, this is a sprint-style format because they do have the iRacing Grand Prix World Tour that goes on as well, and he's pretty high up there in that championship as well. You've got drivers like Michi Hoyer, for example, who runs in that one, also championship-led there by Oliver Stepanov. But here comes Fassbender, looking for a way through, can't get there on the inside. Turn 1 is such a one-line shoots-all corner. It's very difficult to make moves there, and you've got a battle just in front of that for 4th place between Dezube and Guerrero.
Yeah, and also there's still a battle going on between Victor Ord and Yamashita as well, so there's still battles going on everywhere, and this is turning into a great fight. They're still side by side. Officially Fassbender's through, but they're pretty much line astern. Yep. Kent Nielsen decides, no, I'm going to go back, I'm going to try and get this position. I almost think it's one of these battles where, saying that, Kent Nielsen's probably just used all his battery power, where you almost don't want to lead on the last lap, but I don't think it'll mean anything now. Kent Nielsen is dropping back quickly.
Well, Kent Nielsen's got the gap of about 5 seconds to Chantal, so he may as well use it and just finish his race. There is the 3 just behind that tries to put themselves into play, into position. And this is going to be these 3 fighting all the way towards the end. Schilter holding on to it, but I do want to go up to that battle for 4th place. Tyler Dezube and Fernando Guerrero. Guerrero is just shadowing, and remember, with car number 8 out there, 8th highest I rating in the field, he's got the biggest amount of, I would say, leeway with his tyres. He was the last to pit. He's got the freshest rubber.
Does, and in contrast to that, Tyler Dezube was one of the first to come in and take those soft tyres, so it's definitely a huge difference in tyre life. 5 laps difference between the two. That is a noticeable difference. At this point, 10 laps into the tyre stint for Dezube, he'll be starting to feel those rubber compound soft tyres starting to go away from him a little bit. Maybe the next 2 laps, which will leave us with 3 to go, he'll really be struggling on them.
Absolutely, and we know that drivers didn't want to start the race on the soft compound. They wanted to start on the medium and go aggressive onto the soft tyre, and now you're starting to see why, because there will be that drop-off, that depreciation of the tyre as it gets worn in. Dezube, the American number 13, Club Carolina, down the inside, tries Fernando Guerrero as he tries to make that move. He'll have to stay side by side then on this helter-skelter, up and then back down the hill, over towards Schlossgold corner, downhill braking zone as well, and he's got that one comfortably sorted off at the apex. Wonderful move. Guerrero up into 4th position with a pretty textbook pass.
Beautiful move in the end there from Guerrero. Good job from Dezube, as we're just seeing Komsky's had an issue at the hairpin. We'll see if we can pick up what's happened to him.
Oh, it's on the exit.
Yeah, he's looped it around. I think he's hit the curb on the outside and just unloaded the car.
I think he's done it on the inside here. Watch this. He'll go in, he'll attack this curb, and then whoopsie-daisy, too early on the power, and pretty much parks himself wonderfully for that marshal, who absolutely remained unmoved in that incident.
Didn't even flinch. Oh, Dezube's around too from at the final corner. He's going to lose a spot to Fassbender. What happened to him there?
That's the first corner.
Yeah, for turn 1 that one was, sorry. How has he done that? It's similar to what we saw with Adam Webb, potentially.
How has he not hit the wall? You're going to see this right now. It's exactly the same. He's going to grab that curb on the outside. With the difference in grips and property, he's going to get speared over to the right, and somehow he saves it by spearing off to the right-hand side as he went through left of the screen. That is an incredible save by Tyler Dezube.
Look how close this rear wing was to hitting the wall. Yeah, that was pretty close.
Yeah, I'd say so as well. Dezube still in this race, but albeit in 6th position. Fassbender now up into 5th then with 3 laps to go in this one. There's your leader, Kalen Chin. It has not been an easy escape to the tune of 4.2 seconds. Henkel is keeping him honest here in this one. And there is Oliver Stepanov, after having to pit for his front wing, moving on to the hard compound tyre, moving to dead last in the field. Somehow he is going to come away with a podium, and that is what we call a drive.
And these are the ways that you build a championship, isn't it? Not necessarily about picking up the race wins, but it's picking up great results in your bad races. And when we saw him pit on lap 2, we were like, well, his day's done. We don't need to talk about him again. And then all of a sudden, he's lapping faster than the leaders on the hard tyre while they're on the medium. And he's just driven an incredibly good race. Shouldn't be any questions about his tyre life all the way to the end, but there's always a minor question mark when you do have to pit this early. But a driver of his skill should be okay to get to the end.
Just did a 5-1. He's quicker
what
than
a
the
lap.
leaders.
That was his fastest lap of the race.
Incredible. Oliver Stepanov is just flexing at this point. This is what I could have done. This is what I had the ability to do if I wasn't bottled up in 5th position on the grid and getting myself into a little bit of a sticky wicket. But still battling going on. And this is Chantal versus Schilter out on track through turn 1. The fight on for 8th position here in this one. They've dropped Binnendijk. They've dropped John Pat Kelly. Akomsky's gone around. And now Roly Schilter has to just stay in range, give himself a chance to attack the French-Canadian.
Yep. Not much of a gap between the two. Still DRS keeping them together. I'm wondering if Schilter's maybe saving some battery to try and attack on the very last lap. But in saying that, Chantal will be aware to that and probably doing the same to try and save some battery to defend. The light flashing, that means battery harvest mode. So there's going to be a little bit of gamesmanship in this little battle. As the white flag is flying at the front of the field for Kalen Chin. He has taken the white flag to start this final race.
He certainly has.
Won a lap of the race.
Yeah, absolutely. And he's already halfway around it at this point in time. Of course, that light on the back means two things soon in iRacing. One of them will be rain, when we don't quite know. Schilter close. He'll have the DRS on the front stretch as he'll try and make that run up into turn number 1, that louder corner. And he can't quite get there. This might be a wait for the 3rd corner to get through at Schlossgold. But for Kalen Chin, with just 2 corners to go, he had to fight hard to get to Henkel, reserved it after contact, had to fight to get to Fassbender, caused a mistake. Kalen Chin, take your hat off, wins at the Red Bull Ring. Title stays alive, and it's weird to say it after only 5 rounds. Henkel will take 2nd. Oliver Stepanov, what a drive this is to recover, to take 3rd. You can see him weaving on the straight, every reason to. That was well deserved at your home race.
100%. That's one of the best drives we've seen in this series as a whole. He's driven the wheels off that thing to get it back into a position. There was no way he deserved to get a podium after pitting so early and driving on the hard tyre. We've heard from drivers time and time again that the hard tyres are absolutely not worth being on in this car. Well, Oliver Stepanov's just proven that they work if you need to do something out of the ordinary to get yourself back in a position. What a drive it was. But congratulations, Kalen Chin.
What a drive it was, and what a drive it will be in the future as well. That was important. And there you can see the Australian living out of Singapore, giving himself a really, really strong showing. And that Singapore contingent as well, Jay. Just before we go to results, really, really strong out there. Miko Nasi out there. Marius Golombek, I think, is out there as well. One of the Coanda drivers out there in Singapore. It's just a hotbed for great drivers. Sebastian Tixier as well.
Yeah, really good Southeast Asian contingent of young upcoming drivers coming through the iRacing scene, which is great to see. And as you said, Kalen Chin, born in Sydney, lives in Singapore. Absolutely brilliant drive from him today.
Yeah, that margin time then, 38 minutes, 39 seconds. He wins by 4.4 over Andreas Henkel there in 2nd position. What a drive by Stepanov to get himself to 3rd. And playing the long game, Fernando Guerrero finishing off in 4th position. Nice to see him on a return, really up there in the points. Marcel Fassbender led the race, and I think he'll learn something from today. This is the sort of race that when you have the lead and you make mistakes, you learn from it, and Fassbender will learn in the future. He finishes 5th. Tyler Dezube will take 6th, with the 2 Canadians, Kent Nielsen and Stefan Chantal, there in what is 7th and 8th positions. Chantal, the biggest gainer in the field, up 12 spots today, with Roly Schilter in 9th position, and Frank Binnendijk then rounding out the top 10 overall. John Pat Kelly will take 11th with Victor Awad in 12th. Lukasz Okomski there in 13th position with Kohei Yamashita, the last finisher on the leading lap. A lot of retirees and drivers who did not make it over to the checkered flag overall. And those drivers include Reynaldo Augusto, Adam Webb, Filippo Grandi, Jorge Martinez, of course, that big accident with Thomas Wieck we saw in its entirety. Anthony Cat will be classified as 20th, and classified as a disqualification from this race today is Tamas Simon, who had technical issues, internet issues just before the start, qualified the car fantastically on pole position, and it makes you wonder what he would have done had he been there. But Jay, my favourite track of them all's next. It's Imola. This is just an amazing track for racing.
One of my favourites on the iRacing service as well. Love the racing at Imola, and it's going to be fantastic when we get there in these cars next week. Bring it on. Cannot wait.
Absolutely. The place you can catch it is with us at SimSpeed TV. If you've been watching this for the first time, or you've been here watching for a little while and you are not subscribed here, what are you doing? Make sure you like, make sure you share, make sure you subscribe for more great content brought to you by us. And a massive thanks has to go to the likes of the iRacing open wheel community who help grab us these races and bring ourselves to a chance and an opportunity to call some amazing action. On top of that, big thanks goes to the Virtual Racing School, sponsors of our replays here over the course of what we have seen today. And we've had to use a lot of them here with just how incredible the action's been. From Jay Kennedy, cameras and commentary, myself, Jake Sperry, that was a big one for Kalen Chin. He gets the monkey off the back. He gets himself a big victory, and now he can start working that pace in and building himself up to a level. Stepanov knew that he made a mistake today. He had chances, but ultimately he had to recover back to that third. And what will Tamas Simon be thinking after that? No way he could have ever predicted that in terms of a race. Wonderful action. More to come next time out, and we will see you in Emilia-Romagna 1 week from today.
This is fantastic. This is GT racing right now.
He's got traction. He's going in the outside. Both of them. Maloney.
Oh, he's taking Anderson. Anderson's up to
Oh my God. Oh, big crash. Oh my goodness. Half the field's going to get rolled.
Second very close. These guys are want to make their way through the field very quickly.
Oh, there we go.
Oh no.
That's massive. This is it. This is over. I can't believe this. Oh my God.
God, what?